I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I coach people in organizations to play big in the world and worked as a recruiter for more than 40 years. So I do executive job search coaching amongst the types of coaching that I do. And I thought I would do a video today talking about mistakes people make at final interviews that prove so costly and just send their candidacy down the tubes. So, here's mistake number one. You don't prepare. And preparation doesn't have to be a big dramatic thing. You can start off by just looking at the LinkedIn profile of the person that you're meeting with so you have a degree of comfort and have a sense of what their background is. You do a Google search to see if there have been any recent stories about the firm which specifically if you're an executive candidate, you want to know about these changes so you can raise them in conversation, right? Well, if you're a staff level individual, you want to be familiar with some of them because if they cause you any sort of concern, you want to have a conversation with your future boss about them. So that's mistake number one. You don't do anything to prepare. Number two is, and this is an awful one, but happens way too often, you start to feel bold, you start to feel a bit cocky, and you start making new demands at this interview that makes them scratch their head and go, huh? Where did this come from? You don't do it in the interview if you change your thinking about the role. You don't get all sorts of arrogant. What you do is you stick with the program so that in this way there are no surprises. I want to teach you one of the big lessons in recruiting, and that is surprises are rarely good. After all, if you're an employer and you hear a potential hire start to go crazy with money or talk about getting much more time off than's been raised previously, it just makes you scratch your head and go, where did this come from? In much the same way as if you're a job hunter and you've been talking about one price and suddenly they come in $30,000 less, you go, huh? They're no different. So if you start making crazy demands that come in out of the blue, they're going to get turned off to your candidacy. So that's the second mistake people make. And another one, and this can happen at any point in the interview, but I'm just going to tell you, final interviews are particularly treacherous about this because in some organizations, the leadership becomes really good at helping you take your guard down. So the mistake here is becoming too casual and open in your conversations. I remember a story years ago where I had a client who flew someone in for a final interview. It was a rare skill this person possessed. They were prepared to hire this person and relocate them. He met with his future boss, and she asked him a question, and his response was, I'll go into detail once I'm on board. Okay? It basically, was a rude response in her mind, even though what had happened was they were so friendly with one another and so collegial that he forgot that she was there assessing him. And as a result, he got turned down for this role, and they hired someone else, all because he became too casual. For you as a job hunter, you have to remember that as much as they may be friendly and open and all sorts of happy along the way, they are still evaluating and assessing you. And they are doing that in every moment of the conversation and the pre-conversation, the scheduling, the waiting in the reception, how you interact with the receptionist. Because I'll tell you, in organizations that have them, one of the things I've heard time and again is how candidates were obnoxious with the receptionist, and he or she comes back and say, where did that come from? And people pay attention. This is an individual that they know, like, and trust, and although they may not be performing the role, there's a signal in the behavior there. So again, don't take it for granted. There is no formality in job hunting. Everything is a way that their BS detector can go up and cause you to be rejected. Hope you found this helpful. I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. And if you're an executive, I'd love to coach you. Email me at jeffaltman@thebiggamehunter.us. and in the subject line, put the word coaching. If you're not an executive, the best place for me to help you is at jobsearchcoachinghq.com, where I have curated information that's designed to help you find work more quickly. Plus, you can ask me questions that will help you with your search. Have a great day. Take care.